Every creative rapper explained. Our voyage begins at the center of the hip-hop world, within its great councils.
The Crown Fleet.
The Crown Fleet sits at the very top of hip-hop, the ruling class of the culture. These artists don't just make hits, they run the game.
I get those goosebumps every time, yeah, when you're not around, when you throw that to the...
Every move is calculated. Every release feels like a display of control. Their approach is built on pure dominance, massive rollouts, global collaborations, and polished presentations that turn each album into a full-scale event.
With your life like turning down a bright light, driving with my dad and he told me it ain't Christ-like.
This group operates less like a collective and more like a council of rulers, maintaining order across the genre. Their priority isn't always innovation, but rather stability, keeping their empire intact through consistency.
Fendi Prince on, ayo I been off, Lara Bincroft, play say Chang Lee, drop the Benz off.
The power in the Crown Fleet comes from the ability to command attention, set standards, and make the world move on their schedule.
Hey, bitch, I'm attractive, can't fuck with you no more, I'm fasting.
But with that power comes tension, rivalries, ego, shifting alliances, and the endless fight to remain at the top.
And I hate to even call her as my bitch, cause I love that hoe, don't even make no sense.
The Crown Fleet thrives on authority, proving that in hip-hop, legacy and cultural dominance can matter just as much as the music itself.
The Rogue Tide.
The Rogue Tide is the faction for the ones who don't sail in straight lines. The outliers, the rule breakers, the experimenters, and the innovators who keep hip-hop from drifting into calm waters, reshaping its foundation.
Shit, that's every day.
Like the Crown Fleet, they operate on an elite level and can act like a council of their own, but their rule comes from chaos, not control. These artists don't follow blueprints, they draw their own maps, shaping entire waves of rap through risk-taking and reinvention.
The latest video in the Gucci too, but you know, I told you I love you forever, I'm never gonna change, I'm not stopping.
Their work pushes new currents, birthing subgenres from trap's mutation to rage to the rise of melodic and alternative sounds.
I'm on the pursuit of happiness.
They blur lines between genres, turning performance, fashion, and production into part of their rebellion.
Remember the name, his Weezy baby, January, December the same. Mama give me.
While some sail together with the Crown Fleet, the Rogue Tide never stays in formation. They're unpredictable, genre-bending, and unrestrained. They don't protect tradition, they challenge and transform it. Every era of hip-hop's evolution traces back to members of this crew who dare to disrupt the norm.
Serving at detention, I fuck with Soulja Boy. Get money, nigga.
The Rogue Tide are true pioneers. The pirates everybody studies but won't admit to following. But even when they vanish from the spotlight, the respect still remains through their influence.
As we're sailing through the hip-hop world, we've stumbled upon some hidden treasure. This video's sponsor, BetterHelp. Now, if you're a creative like me, you might often feel stressed with your day-to-day life, trying to manage obstacles. Sometimes life's journey can feel overwhelming, and having the right guidance can make all the difference. BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist who can help you navigate challenges, break negative patterns, and gain clarity in moments of stress or uncertainty. By filling out a short questionnaire, you will get help getting matched with the right therapist for you, someone that is trained to listen and provide guidance tailored to your situation. And if it doesn't feel right, you can always switch at no extra cost. Therapy isn't for everyone, but it might be exactly what you need to feel more grounded, gain perspective, and steer your life with more confidence. BetterHelp accepts both HSA and FSA cards, making it even easier to prioritize your mental health. In 2024 alone, over 137,000 people use their HSA and FSA benefits for therapy through BetterHelp. So be sure to use yours before they expire. You can get 10% off your first month by clicking the link in the description using betterhelp.com/JivoDraws.
The Lost Siren.
The Lost Siren represents artists who don't compete through dominance, but pulls listeners in through emotion and atmosphere. Their music blends in immersive soundscapes, connecting through feeling rather than force. The origins of this crew trace back to cloud rap.
Higher than their parents and her place to go.
A dreamy, lo-fi style of hip-hop built on hazy beats, ethereal melodies, and introspective tones that redefined how emotion could live in rap. From that foundation, emo rap emerged.
Like it dope, cause we rather just smoke ice cold back.
Blending darker themes, distorted production, and raw vocals to express vulnerability in a way hip-hop hadn't seen before. By the mid-2010s, the sound evolved into a cultural wave. Normalizing introspection and emotional honesty as a center part of rap. Over time, emo rap splintered into subgenres.
I don't really care if you cry. I don't really shouldn't have a lie.
Until the movement's peak faded, especially after many artists either changed directions or tragically passed away.
In the bag, and nobody gets hurt.
The era closed on its melodic side, but its influence never disappeared. The Lost Siren remains hip-hop's emotional core, leaving behind a blueprint for vulnerability and self-expression that still echoes through melodic and alternative sounds today.
The Trickster's Mirage.
The Trickster's Mirage is built on personality, image, and the business side of rap, where the art of attention becomes part of the craft itself. These artists don't take themselves too seriously.
All my niggas really gangbang, talk that damn slang. Rap about it, do the same thing, let your nuts hang.
They understand that in today's world, being watched can be as powerful as being heard. Some crewmates thrive on the chaos on the internet, using controversy to fuel their careers. Others take a calculated approach. Using mystery and perfectly timed social media moments to keep their name circulating. Even when their online personas seem chaotic or random, many are crafted with careful precision to spark conversation and build momentum. And in rare cases, some members have their personalities shine through their music. For them, charm, humor, or a unique worldview is their advantage, and is why people gravitate towards who they are as well as their craft. Critics may label a lot of the entertainers as industry plants, assuming their rise as manufactured.
I got everybody mad at me for it. I hate to be so hot, they give me a surplus battery for it.
But whether their hype is organic or orchestrated, they understand the power of perception. The Trickster's Mirage thrives on attention, using image and personality as tools to shift narratives. And if you like this type of rapper or not, you can definitely admit that they stir excitement and stay one step ahead from everyone else.
The Scholars Guild.
The Scholars Guild are the most respected crew in the whole armada of hip-hop. The writers who treat rap like literature and defend the craft. Their focus isn't on flash, but precision.
Couldn't resist. Aim for the stars and I shouldn't have missed, but I was riding on fumes, so I stopped by the moon. Now I'm sitting on the hood of this.
Bars crafted like puzzles, stories woven with meaning, and verses that balance intelligence with emotion. Their lineage goes back to the earliest ports of hip-hop, when being lyrical meant survival, and wordplay was the sharpest weapon on deck.
Crossroads to the corner thugs hustling for cars that cost dough, to the big dogs living large, taking it like.
Boom bap built the foundation in the 80s and peaked in the 90s, which opened the waters for conscious poets, storytellers, and technical rappers who turned flow itself into an instrument.
Time is ticking time bomb, taking the finish line. Look alive, look in my eyes, look at you niggas trying to get dumb, better run, cause we prime.
Today, lyricism exists across multiple lanes, from underground purists keeping the craft alive, to modern rappers blending complex rhyme patterns with melody and trap influences.
Roll me a blunt so I'll forget it, but the details look so vivid. Went through a lot of shit in a life.
Even though lyricists are often the most respected, they still walk one of the hardest routes, with many being underrated or dismissed simply for being too lyrical for today's current sound.
Sorry, I don't make music for the mass appeal. New crib, got 6 baths, no jack and
The Scholars Guild proves that writing is still the backbone of hip-hop, sharp, timeless, and essential.
The Raider Gang.
The Raider Gang embodies hip-hop's rawest truth, the artists who turn real-life experience into rhythm. Their stories come from survival, from what was seen and lived, not from fantasy. Street rap has been one of the genre's earliest foundations, often seen as the face of hip-hop to the outside world.
I got 30 in it, I was just a dirty cracker. My cup of dirty bath, bitch, I got a dirty.
Every coast and every city shaped it in its own way, from grimy street tales to aggressive trap and modern drill, where violence, loyalty, and consequence collide.
Nobody know what happened. Late, I don't know why he did Samara like we don't know why he stayed.
Each era evolves, but the spirit stays the same. Truth told through grit, cadence, and rhythm. Even today, the streets remain one of hip-hop's strongest pillars, with many of its biggest names still coming from this lineage.
Pop in the street, right inside my pants, why I touch the heat, dead bodies left white, why I be green fat nigga, no, it ain't no.
But as the wise poet Sir Cartier once said, everything comes with a price.
63rd, just got some time from this stripper bitch. She from Kankakee, just brought a Glock with a.
Authenticity brings risk, so legal trouble, loss, and tragedy are common in this crew. The Raider Gang serve as a reminder of where hip-hop culture launched from. Storytelling rooted in struggle, survival, and the pursuit of respect.
The Trap Armada.
The Trap Armada represents one of the most dominant forces in modern hip-hop. What began as a regional sound from Atlanta eventually grew into a global movement that reshaped rap entirely. Early trap drew influence from gangsta rap, crunk, and New Orleans bounce, all built around booming 808s, simple drum patterns, and digital hi-hats. Today, the sound is defined by booming bass, rapid-fire hi-hat rolls, and triplet flows that give it relentless energy.
It's a jungle, I let them survive. Pop it, perk it, just to start them. Pop it, pop it.
Lyrically, trap captures the tension between ambition and chaos, fast money, party lifestyle, and the hustle of street life.
Burberry dripping like raspberry sauce for the matters. You don't need matter. Codeine coming on my bladder. Gotta keep.
Its rise was controversial in the 2000s, and by the 2010s, it became more melodic and widely popular.
Blow up. I don't even understand how to fuck my plug.
Dividing fans while defining a generation. Over time, trap evolved into countless subgenres, from dark street trap to futuristic rage, while keeping its core elements intact.
No, so can't play this game. They call me Bruce Santana, cause I weigh everything.
The Trap Armada isn't just a style anymore. It's the backbone of modern hip-hop. Its sound ripples through nearly every corner of the genre, proving its reign over the seas is far from over.
The Abstract Order.
The Abstract Order represents hip-hop's creative frontier. Since the early days of the genre, alternative and experimental hip-hop have always existed in the background. Artists blending rap with jazz, funk, soul, rock, and electronical elements, exploring deeper themes and pushing past convention. These musicians treated hip-hop like a canvas.
Yeah, you ain't like that shit, I was doing it again. 5 in the morning, I be hating on shit. 10 in the evening, I be hating on shit.
Merging sound, visuals, and the performance into a unified art form. As the genre evolved through the 2000s and beyond, the Abstract Order continued to expand its boundaries. Influencing both the underground and pushing the boundaries within the mainstream.
I'm stuck on the browser, like how did I make it? This bitch don't know me, this shit is so lonely and
They challenge what rap should sound like, embracing experimentation, introspection, and often unique production. Innovation is at their core.
The hour they knocked a slick blaster, Dick Dastardly and Muttley with sick laughter, a gunfight and they come.
Tracks feel like an experiment. Every album is a reinvention. And because they're always pushing ahead, the Abstract Order and the New Wave often become blueprints for hip-hop's next sound.
The Shockwave Buccaneers.
The Shockwave Buccaneers are hip-hop's most electrified frontier. The crew where rage, hyperpop, and EDM all clash together. This crew thrives on sound that feels alive and unpredictable, built on high-energy beats, distorted melodies, and pure digital chaos. Vocals are often rough-sounding and experimental by design, pushed through layers of effects, ad-libs, and automation, so the voice becomes part of the production, not just something on top of it. Many artists in this crew produce for themselves, which gives them full control over every layer of their music. The sound draws from electronic and internet culture with booming synths, glitchy effects, and fast-paced arrangements that mirror the energy of the digital age. What started as a niche, online-heavy wave is now feeding back into the mainstream.
My lifestyle driving you crazy. This girl got morphine crazy. Make too much money.
Shaping how artists use energy as a focal point, such as their performance on stage, vocal cadences, or mixing choices.
I can do it, you can do it. I was shipped by that girl.
The Shockwave Buccaneers are the sound of the storm ahead, loud, chaotic, and constantly reinventing.
The new wave.
The new wave represents the current and future stage of hip-hop's evolution. This crew fuses elements of emo, trap, rage, and experimental sounds to forge new directions outside the mainstream.
If you ain't with the shit, then you can't come. So don't get it twisted, don't get it confused. I'ma stay winning, I ain't never had a lose.
They thrive online, building communities before the industry even notices. The new wave values individuality, experimentation, and authenticity above all else. While many are still emerging, their creative influence is already reshaping the sound of the underground. And hinting at where hip-hop is heading next. With the fading of the rage era, a new generation of artists is experimenting freely.
I wish I could tell you how it works, but I don't know either. I was geeked without the leader.
Blending genres, rejecting labels, and redefining the next wave. Hip-hop is in a transitional state at the moment. Mainstream hip-hop is at an all-time low, but the underground is thriving with ideas. And sooner or later, these ideas will have the right execution, which will end up shaping the future of hip-hop.